I wonder if it's true, that no one is perfect. I certainly couldn't find any faults in Anami Toko, even up close. Her beauty set my mind whirling around. She was perfect to me, and I found myself wanting to stare at her endlessly, just like I was now. Before she could realize my eyes were on her, I quickly turned my face down towards my desk. What was I doing? Right in the middle of class. That first day after the high school entrance ceremony, I already felt like I was walking on air. It was like the bright sunlight of spring was bathing my heart, warm and fragrant. Nanami Toko. She possessed beautiful black hair, and eyes that shone a brilliant blue when the light hit them just right. I couldn't have been the only one to be spellbound by her beautiful face. I was incredibly lucky that I ended up in the same class as her, just as I was starting my new life. When the school day ended, Nanami Toko came to my desk. How about that we head over right away? When she asked me that, without any explanation, I almost asked her to where. But then I realized I knew what she meant. To the student council. Yeah, are you busy? I felt like she was asking me those questions out of order, but I had no reason to turn down Nanami Toko's invitation. Now it's fine. I got my things together a little more quickly than usual, and we left the classroom together. The air in the shaded hallway was slightly cold. Now, were we going up or down? Which floor is the student council room on? They said it's not in the school building, Nanami Toko explained as she went to the stairs. I wasn't sure what she meant, so I obediently followed her. When I was by Nanami Toko's side, I ended up so nervous that I was worried my shoulders might visibly stiffen up. We changed into our outdoor shoes at the shoe cubbies and left the school building. Just when I thought we could be going to a different school building, based on the way she'd phrased things earlier, she turned her back to me and started walking in the opposite direction. There was something like a trail that continued ahead or where Nanami Tuku walked, an unpaved path between the trees. The path led us towards the hill next to the school, the surrounding greenery increasing as we went. I looked to the right and left, searching for our destination. We are going to the student council room, right? Yeah, it's supposed to be in a separate building. Uh-huh. What an odd student council. This seemed inconvenient for the times they would need to check in with the faculty. As we progressed down the path that ran parallel to the outside of the school building, it opened up right behind the school. I could hear fewer voices, and as the dense landscape deepened, I felt more and more a sense of deja vu. When I thought about where I had seen this before, I realized it reminded me of a very familiar place indeed. It's like the garden at home, I commented without thinking, as we walked and then gasped at myself. Nanami Toko's eyes went wide as she looked at me. Then, her gaze swept through the surrounding scene before coming back to my face. Seki-san, is your family rich? Nanami Toko asked me, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. I didn't understand why she was so interested in knowing. Rich, huh? Well, I suppose you could say that. Oh, is it one of those things where you could be in trouble if you told anyone? My less than stellar response prompted further speculation from Nanami Toko. No, not particularly. Actually, how exactly would that get me in trouble? I couldn't phrase it right, so I just ended up sounding skeptical. Nanami Toko shone as bright as sunlight as she said, You know, like a job you would get in trouble for if others knew about it. What kind of job is that? I couldn't help chuckling a little at her unexpectedly childish idea. Nanami Toko seemed slightly embarrassed and averted her eyes, possibly because of my laughter. We walked in silence for a bit, until I managed to get my thoughts together. We have a large garden at home, and a helper who comes by. Wow. And we have 2 cats. That's nice. But it's not as though I myself worked to make any of that happen. I think that's why I don't particularly want to talk about it. I couldn't claim something as a status symbol if I hadn't earned it for myself. And it didn't make sense for anyone to praise me for it, either. But Nanami Toko seemed to think differently. You can't get rich without working hard. So if your family is rich, that must mean that someone in your family worked hard, right? I think I would be proud of that. This time, it was my turn to exclaim in wonder at her. It had never occurred to me to think of it that way. You must really care about your family, I commented, guessing based on her tone. Nanami Toko seemed to freeze for a moment. Well, as much as a normal person would. I was a little curious about the forced smile she wore as she answered. No, I suppose there wasn't a single thing about Nanami Toko that I wasn't curious about. We had peered into each other's lives a bit, and maybe it caught both of us off guard. Neither of us spoke after that, until we caught sight of the student council room. Only our demure footsteps sounding out, one after another among the trees. During that time, I glanced at Nanami Toko's profile, and marveled once again at her beauty. I was relieved she didn't meet my eyes.